Hey everybody, we are back with another episode of Can't Stop Snapping, the official podcast of MarvelSnapZone.com. A couple of things before we jump into today's episode. First off, I want to apologize in advance. There are a couple of audio issues during this episode. I think just some bandwidth issues between me and our guest, and so there are just seconds here or there where maybe the audio drops out. So I do apologize for that. Apologize for the audio quality. Doing some things on my end to hopefully make sure that doesn't happen again. So I appreciate your patience. Other than that, I am kind of expecting a patch this week. That is not a for sure thing, but if we're following a cadence of 3 weeks as we have with the last several patches, we should be expecting something the next day or two. As always, you can expect us to cover our thoughts on the patch notes here on the podcast. So make sure to follow the podcast on your preferred platform and catch the upcoming episodes. Without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. Hey everybody, we are back with another episode of Can't Stop Snapping, the official podcast of MarvelSnapZone.com. Well, today we are talking about something that I have been wanting to talk about since the very first episode. In the very first episode, I said this is a podcast about the game, the meta, the cards, and I also said the art. But really, other than a couple of moments here or there where we've gushed over, yes, the art's awesome for a couple of seconds, we really haven't had a chance to talk more about art and have a longer conversation about the art in Marvel Snap. So I am very excited today to be joined by WesD4Best. He's been very active in the community, and he, just like me, loves the art in Marvel Snap. And so we are going to have a great conversation today. Wes, thank you for being here.
Hey, happy to be here. How are you doing?
Doing great. Doing great. At the time of recording, as you know, it's a little early my time. It's a little late your time, but
Hey, that's my thing. Good Marvel Snap morning.
Yeah, no, very excited to start my day off good with this. So, well, just as a way of intro, let's just talk a little bit about art and just kind of general terms, what excites us both. And I'd love to get started here. So, I've always loved art. I consider myself a creative. I'm not necessarily great at painting or drawing myself, but I do like to do different forms of art, and I like to appreciate different forms of art. And so when Marvel Snap was first revealed, I was just very excited. Once I realized it was a card game, and then I started to see some of the art, and the base art is beautiful. Don't get me wrong, the base art for the game. But once they introduced the concept of variants and kind of these different art styles from different artists, I just said, wow, this is just so cool and unique for a card game. I just feel like obviously the other card games have other variants or different kind of alt arts for certain cards, but I just feel like this is on a whole nother level on the amount of art that the options they're giving you. And I was very excited and still very excited. So Wes, tell me a little bit about, what excites you generally about the art in Marvel Snap? What excited you when you first learned about the game, etc.?
Oh yeah, the art is honestly one of my favorite things about it. It's because I'm a big comic book fan since I was a kid. So seeing some of my favorite characters in all different kinds of art styles, and that's the thing is like you said, the base cards are really good, but there's so many variants. I remember like the first 2 months of playing the game, I was still seeing variants that I had never seen before. Favorite things is coming across somebody or a bot with a variant that I haven't seen, and I'm just like, oh, look at that, it's so dope, I want it.
Yeah, and at least my interpretation of what they've said, I try to follow what the developers are saying in the Discord and on Twitter, etc. It sounds like they plan to continue to add more variants for existing cards, not only for new cards, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably their best way to make money, honestly.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, we've talked much about the fiasco of certain monetary decisions by the developers that have fairly been rectified thus far. But I think we've also had a lot of people on the podcast that agree that, cosmetics, kind of this idea of like, don't make me pay to win, don't make me pay money to play the game. But like, if you're going to give me beautiful art and you're going to continue to give me beautiful art of my favorite characters, heck yeah, I'm going to probably spend some money on the game eventually, right? Because I'm going to run out of gold from buying too many variants. So
That's my case right now.
Definitely agree with you there. Yeah, so I think a lot of people feel similar in the community. I would love to someday, we're not there yet, but I'd love someday to have some of the artists that are doing art for the game on this podcast. I'd love to have the art manager with Second Dinner on this podcast, but we will see if and when that happens. So, okay, kicking it off here, we've got a couple of topics we want to go over. We thought it'd be fun to just start off with our favorite variants. And Wes, if it's okay with you, maybe we could just kind of go back and forth. I'll do one, you do one, and we'll just go through maybe our top 5 or 6 for each of us.
Sounds great.
I will kick things off. Okay, so I am looking at one of Adam Warlock. So Adam Warlock has a couple. He's got his base card. He's got, a pixel art one. And he's got one that's kind of more blue and pink. This is the one that I think looks the most realistic. He's standing firm, arms at his side down, and he has kind of his cosmic energy around his hands, and his hair's down, and his face kind of is in shadow, and he's got some characters behind him. And I just think this card is gorgeous, and I'm actually surprised myself. I've had this in my store twice, and I love the art, and I look at it a ton every time I see it. But the only reason I haven't bought it is just because I don't play with Adam Warlock a lot. And that's I guess that's its own side conversation of I love the art for so many of the cards, even the cards I don't play with. But generally I'm not purchasing variants from the store unless it is a card I play with. But on the flip side, if I randomly unlock a variant through one of the rewards trackers, I'll generally play with that card more because I didn't buy it, if that makes sense. So I'm like, well, I've got to at least play with this a little bit, right? I got this new version of this card. So yeah, I just think this card super intense looking. I just love the vibe of kind of like he looks like he means business and he's going to go mess somebody up, right? That's done him wrong. Hey all, if you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. And best of all, Anchor is completely free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Yeah, well, let's turn it over to you for your first one.
All right. So I'm gonna kind of cheat a little bit. I'm gonna just basically say the Chibi Styles. Like my favorite ones are the Death Chibi. The America Chavez one is really, really good. And then I really, really love, I think my favorite out of all of them is the Hobgoblin one. It's just so colorful. And when you split it, it looks amazing. And it's definitely one of my favorite of all.
Yeah, I randomly unlocked the America Chavez Chibi one, months back when I was Chavez in the main deck I was playing, and I was so excited, let me tell you, to get that card because I had not really upgraded my America Chavez because I wanted a variant of her, and so being able to get her randomly, right, for a card I played a ton, I was so excited, and I 100% agree with you. Those cards look great when they're split with the background. Okay, well, I'll jump into another one. I love the Beast card where he is upside down, hanging in a tree, reading a book. I love that kind of intelligent side of Mr. Not Mr. Beast. Wow. I'm on YouTube too much. You can tell. A Beast. Some of his other cards, it's kind of more, he's in attack formation. He's a little more intense looking, and I love this one where he's just kind of chill reading a book. I think it just speaks to the character a ton, right? And I think it looks really good. I've seen some people with this one split a couple of times, and I think it looks great with kind of the rainbow background behind the tree. I will turn it back over to you.
My next one is probably my 8-bit Carnage. I'm kind of split on the 8-bit cards because there's some that I've seen that I just really do not like. But the more that I've been unlocking them and getting them in my own collection, they started to grow on me. But yeah, my 8-bit Carnage is that because my murder deck was like my first deck I put together and had good success with, or it's kind of called Death Wave now. But even before we had Wave, we were out there just murdering it up. And Carnage, his 8-bit one is really dope, and I like it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I felt similarly about the 8-bits. Again, in no way did I ever look at them and say, oh, well, I never want one of those or they're ugly or anything like that. But out of any of the styles, they definitely were kind of my bottom of my list for like anything I was going to buy. But I'm with you that when I have a 8-bit Angela, an
That's a
8-bit
good one.
Yondu, a couple of these where I unlocked it and I was like, actually, this is growing on me a lot. It takes me back to the old video game days, right? So I think that just speaks to the viability of such variation in the art.
And also the stages of like in the shop or whatever, just as base. But once you actually start leveling them up, getting them 3D and then animated, it really adds a lot to it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. Let's diverge for a second, just because as we're talking about that, we didn't even in the intro talk about, I think one of the coolest parts with the art, obviously, is the art, but then the different split effects you can get. And obviously, get, like you're saying, get it 3D, get an animated background, and kind of always that surprise of what part of the background or what part of the card is going to be animated, right? You kind of don't know that until you upgrade it. So that's always kind of exciting. It's kind of that little bit of a dopamine rush, right? When you upgrade it and you get to kind of play with it and look what it, see what it looks like now. And kind of have that surprise of, oh, what split effect are you going to get? And I think that's so cool. And I think that just, again, helps me to continue to appreciate the art in a new way each time I upgrade it. So very cool. Well, funny enough, the next one I have open here is a Carnage card as well, Carnage variant that I have. It is the one with the kind of white and black background. Carnage is standing down with both hands at his side. And just kind of just that menacing face, just full on facing the front. This is actually one I bought in the store with gold, but I knew I wanted it, right? I had seen this one as available, meaning like I'd seen other people have it, or I knew it was in the game, and I just said, it's the second that's in my store. Because like you, I had a destroy deck I used really early on. I said, I have to get that card. And so I did. And I have split it many times and have some really cool effects on it. My dream is to get a gold foil one. I haven't got a gold foil of it yet, but that is like just, I think it would look so cool with a gold background. So that's what I'm shooting for on that one.
Nice.
Okay.
My next one is one that I don't even have the base card for yet, but I've seen and I really love the art style. It's Rogue's variant, where it's real colorful. It's like she's got little miniature X-Men around her. She's holding up like who's that, like Bishop, and there's like some floaty other X-Men, a little Wolverine around her. It's just such a beautiful art style, and the colors look really good. And like you said, when it gets 3D, when it's animated, it just looks so amazing. So it's one that I want very much, but I don't even have Rogue yet. So gotta
Well,
get that done first.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who doesn't have Rogue yet, because I'm right there with you. And Rogue seems like a great card. Unfortunately, I fall to the trap where Rogue seems to always get played on me on turn 6 when I'm not expecting it, and loses me the game. And whenever that happens, I'm proud of myself. I don't rage quit. I don't get frustrated. I just say, oh man, when I get that card, I'm going to do that to so many people.
Can't wait.
Awesome. Well, my next one is the Wedding Death variant. I love Death. I love Death Wave. I love putting Death in a discard, Hella deck, couple of things. And I just think this variant is so cool with the skulls floating in space that kind of burst out from the card. Loot Muncher, who I've had on the podcast various times, he has this one. He got this one, and oh man, I've been so jealous of him ever since he got it. And I seem to have got like every Death variant in my shop except for this one. And I know it's random, but we'll maybe talk about this a little bit later. Maybe some features we'd like to see with variant, the obtaining of variants. But it just makes me wish I could target this one a little bit more easily.
Yeah, for sure. In the same vein, I've seen somebody with the Ghostwriter-fied Quinjet, and Quinjet's one of my favorite cards, and I want that variant so bad. I can taste it, but it's just a Quinjet that looks like it sold its soul to more Mephisto and became a Ghostwriter.
Yeah.
Or Ghostwriter decided, like, all right, I'm gonna take the Quinjet for a ride, and just it's got flames everywhere. The Quinjet has a skull face and looks super menacing, and I just want it.
Well, I hope you don't hate me, but I have that one and I haven't used it at all yet. So
Quinjet's not the best of cards. It's one of my favorites just because when I first got it, I wanted it for the longest time to work with Beast, and before the collector nerf, it actually was pretty. But
yeah.
now with collector not being the best, it's whether.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those cards to digress a little bit. We've talked about this. I've used this terminology with other cards. I think it's one of those cards that has a high ceiling in the fact that like there's always going to be more cards out of the game, and that for sure, there's going to be cards that have abilities that add cards to your hand that weren't there to start, right? So I think it will have more build around cards in the future. So I think that's good, at least for the future of Quinjet. I think it has a future in the game. So
yeah.
Okay, let's turn it over to you for your next variant.
I'm just gonna say all the symbiote ones, man, because I have not seen a symbiote variant that I was like, nah. Every single one, I'm like, man, that is so bad.
Yeah. No, I think I'm trying to think. I have the what is her name? She's a 4 cost, 10 power. She goes -1 power to all the rest of your cards.
Typhoid Mary, that's a good
Typhoid
one.
Mary. I have the Typhoid Mary. One of those, and it is, man. Again, I don't play a ton of Typhoid Mary, but that was one of those ones I was like, okay, maybe I just need to try her out, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. I'll build a deck for you real quick. We got to show this off.
It's worth just to be able to play with this art and kind of show it off to other people, right? Okay, well, let me go over my last one I've got here, and then I'll maybe turn it back over to you for one more. But this is my chase card. I love Doctor Doom. I've loved playing with Doctor Doom. I unlocked him relatively early in my pool 3 cards. I want the little chibi, like, baby Doctor Doom playing with Iron Man and Thor toys.
I got that one. I pulled that one out of a collector cache, actually, or a battle pass cache.
And this is the same thing, right? I've had 2 or 3 of these, the other variants in the store, and they're really good too, right? Don't get me wrong. But I'm just like, do I want to get another one if my end goal is to get this one, right? It's like, kind of want to hold off until I get this one. But then the other ones are so good. So, but this is definitely my chase variant. This is the one I want, I think, the most out of all the ones I've said. I just think it's so funny. Obviously, Doctor Doom is a major villain, and so just this idea of him just like playing with the superhero toys just gets me. So I really hope I can get this one soon.
Yeah, it's awesome because I was in the same exact boat because I had the God Doom variant in my shop, and I was like, man, that's sweet, but I already got the Chibi one, so I'm probably never gonna run that one. So.
Yeah. The God one is definitely my second choice, and I've had it in my shop once or twice. And so next time it rolls around, I may just cave and get it, and wait for the Chibi one to come around. So, well, awesome. Do you have any more, either a category of type card or one more you'd like to cover?
I really, really love the black and white. Well, obviously black and white, but the Mr. Negative variant.
Yep.
I don't have that one. I've just seen it out there, but it is just so clean looking. I dig it a lot. Even the one it's supposed to be a symbiote. I'm not big on Mr. Negative lore, but the one where he's got the face on his stomach and everything too, like that one's cool as well.
Yeah, he's kind of turned into some kind of creature, monster. I do have the one you're talking about, the black and white one. Man, yeah, where he's holding the blade and just very, very cool art. Man, wow. There so many options, right? I was using Marvel Snap Zone to actually they have a page that has all the variants. And man, it is an experience just to scroll through that list, right?
Yeah.
As I was trying to pick out some to talk about today, there's ones I've never seen, right? It's like that I just see there and I'm like, oh my gosh, I did not know this even existed. And I want it now, right? Even though I don't have the card, or I don't play the card. And just the thought that there's already so many and they're still going to add more just kind of blows my mind, right?
And one last, the professional wrestler ones, because as a kid
Oh,
I
yeah.
was a wrestling fan, and the Venom where he's holding up the belt, and
Yes.
you can't see it, but this is from a cover. He's actually standing like on top of Spider-Man in the ring. His name covers that up, and I don't know if that anyway. But yeah, the wrestling ones, like Taskmaster has a wrestling one. I think I dig those a lot. But yeah, the Venom
Yeah.
one holding up the belt was the first one I ever spent gold on in the shop.
Yeah, I think I love the idea of like, I love, a card to have its individual art that's specific to that one card. But I love when it kind of bleeds through to multiple cards, when there's kind of because then you're kind of like, I want like this collection of these styles, right? Or yeah, this theme, right? The wrestling one, or there could be other themes down the line that it's like, I want to build a deck that has all of these kinds of cards. I've seen a couple of people do that, like try to do all chibi deck or an all 8-bit deck, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's just like, it's like you don't need to do that. That doesn't help you play the game better, right? But it's
Yeah.
just, it just, plays into, I think they've designed this kind of model really well with the art that
And I think
really allows
there's
you
even like Tank Up and I saw Mr. Metal actually last night running.
yes. Yeah. I saw them post about that online, and man, one thing, a lot of patience, right? Because you just keep splitting the cards over and over again until you eventually get there. And statistically speaking, I'm sure you'll get there, right? Because I think the chances increase every time you split of getting that as a rare split effect and split background. I think my 1 or 2 gold cards, I think, took me 5 splits to get to, right? So that's a
Yeah,
lot.
as someone who hasn't split any card more than one single time, I live vicariously through all of you. I love seeing those
Yeah.
gold cards.
Well, it was funny because I did that really early on, right? I was playing your classic, what everybody loved, right? Carnage, Nova, Dino, Moon Girl, right? Like, I played that at the beginning, and I had, oh, now of course I'm gonna forget. I haven't played with it. The robot that spawns another version of itself that's from the X-Men. Why am I forgetting the name? A Sentinel. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I played with Sentinel a ton. I love the Sentinel card, just the base card, and that was my first one that I like split, and I split multiple times.
Looks
So
good too.
yeah. So obviously I put a ton of credits, right? What is that, like 1,500, 3,000, 45, 60? So like over 7,000 credits into splitting it. Which is kind of insane. And then now I don't even play with the card anymore, right? So at least currently, right?
You'll get back to him.
I will for sure, and I don't doubt that. But I think basically I've become a little more judicious in like how many times I split a card. I mean, I'd love to get some more gold foil cards, but I'd rather get more cards that are split and have a nice background, right? Or one effect than like splitting one card a million times, right?
Yeah, I really love the fact that the splits carry over to the variants, because that is super sweet. Because you have a card you've split already, you get a variant for it, you split it again, I think you're guaranteed to get some kind of effect for it, since
Yeah,
you've
it's
already
like,
split the base model.
yeah. It's like it's a counter per character, not per like individual card or individual variant.
That's a
Um,
great thing.
yeah, a huge choice by them to do that. 100% agree. Hey all, I wanted to take a quick moment to talk to you about MarvelSnapZone.com. Marvel Snap Zone is a one-stop shop for everything Marvel Snap on the internet. They have new articles nearly every day that cover deck building, strategy, card breakdowns, etc. They have a great collection tracker tool and a deck list builder that works off of that collection tracker so that you can know what decks you can build with your current card collection. They have guides and deck lists for all level of players and all collection level of players. Make sure to go to marvelsnapzone.com and check it out now. Well, awesome. Let's turn to our next topic. You had brought to the table several artists you would love to see do variant art for the game, and so I'd love to give you a chance to kind of talk through those. I can kind of give my thoughts as you're kind of going. I think at least one of them is already confirmed, but let's go ahead and turn it over to that. You talk us through your list of top 5 desired artists to do variant art for Marvel Snap.
Yeah, growing up, I was a big comics, even like Sunday Funnies comics. Like I would like Calvin and Hobbes and Bloom County and Foxtrot, any kind of comic, I was into it. And so all the different art styles I love. My first artist, like you said, is confirmed. It's Gabe from Penny Arcade. They're a webcomic that for like 20 something years, if not longer than that. And they're very into the gaming verse. All their comics are usually based around gaming, what's happening in gaming. And they're hilarious. Their art style. I've played I think 3 of their games. They even had a card game back in the day I had on the iPad that I played a lot. But yeah, Gabe from Penny Arcade, he's already confirmed. He's been leaking little snippets on Twitter. And so far I've seen he's doing a Spider-Gwen, a Doctor Strange, a Deadpool, and a Captain America. So I think he has at least one more that he's doing, but I haven't seen what that is yet.
Yeah. And I have seen Gabe's posts on Twitter where he's just, he shows like a corner, like just maybe a quarter of the artwork, right? And I love this idea that they're not like boxing artists in to be like, no, don't share your art. Like, don't like hype up your communities about it, right? I love that they're giving the freedom for artists to share this, because he's not the only one that, I mean, there's been various that have either share their art that's already in the game or art that they're working on for future variants. So very cool by Second Dinner. Okay, let's jump to your second one.
My second one is an artist that I am a huge fan of. It's Sam Keith. He did the artwork for Sandman, and he did a lot of stuff for Marvel as well. Like he has a drawing of Wolverine that is so badass. Like I would love that as a variant, even though I probably would never play Wolverine. Unless there's some change probably in the future. But yeah, Sam Keith and the Sandman books, that art was so different and from everything that I was reading at the time as a kid. And so it just really pulled me in. And then seeing his takes like on actual like Marvel characters and seeing how different he could visualize and draw these characters, it's just really, really awesome.
Yeah, you shared with me some of his artwork, and wow, like there's nothing quite like that currently in Marvel Snap, right? So I feel like that would be, I would love to see him do several cards, right? Where there's a collection of cards you can get with his style.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The next one, people may be more familiar with just because there's the Invincible show on either Hulu or Amazon Prime, but it's Ryan Otley. He drew for Invincible, and he also did a lot of Spider-Man stuff. And I just loved Invincible. His artwork is really, really cool. I think it's like a bit of a younger, cooler take on like Jim Lee back in the day, that kind of art style. It's just really just pop superhero, and it's very distinct and noticeable. And I'm also a huge fan of the Invincible comics, and the show is amazing.
Yeah, no, I'm liking what I'm seeing here from what you sent over. I think it's like it's it feels more in tone with the base card, but just like a little more colorful, a little more pop to it, than some of the kind of the base artwork. So I would love to see that in there.
Yeah, my next is Todd Mcfarlane. If you don't know Todd Mcfarlane, you probably don't know much about comics because he's been one of the biggest artist names in a long time because he had his Spawn comics. He did a lot of stuff for Spider-Man as well. And he also has a very distinct style that gets a little bit darker, a little more grim, but is super awesome and would definitely translate well into Marvel Snap.
Yeah, I have seen some of Todd's art. The example of Spider-Man from the Spider-Man stuff that you sent me over. Love his style. Love his style. And again, it's like we're not. It's so funny because I'm like, I think that we've seen already so much variation in the art in Marvel Snap, but the reality with art is that like everybody has their own style, right? And everybody has their own
Yeah,
little nuance. It may be even similar to somebody else's style, but it's just their own nuance. And like, there's nothing quite like his stuff either in the game right now, right? So,
and it just shows their feeling for what they can do and the
yeah,
way they can add stuff.
kind of endless possibility. Like they could 5 years down the road still be releasing Spider-Man variants, right?
For
And
sure.
it wouldn't get old. So
And my last one is kind of a dream. I highly doubt it's possible, but it's Justin Roiland. Guy does Rick and Morty. Did a lot of, I think, with Adventure Time, and but the Rick and Morty style is probably what most people would relate to or be able to visualize. And yeah, he's doing art. I think like on his own, like doing NFTs and stuff, and it's ridiculously priced. So I doubt it would be possible to wrangle him into the Marvel Snapverse, but that's like a dream. Is to see some Rick and Mortified variants. That would be dope.
yeah, that would be. And I think a lot of people, obviously, Rick and Morty is a huge show, has a huge following. I I think it would be so interesting. Like this is the business part of my brain, right? I have a business degree. I work in business, and just like I want to know the data and the analytics of like, okay, if they have art of a certain style that like matches like a certain popular media, right? If they have an artist from Rick and Morty or from some other popular media do their style of art for the game, does that drive people into the game, right? It may
Mhm.
not, right? But I would be so interested to be like, if that would like people who are on the fence or aren't sure if they want to try out the game, were driven to the game, right? By that art. I think it's definitely a possibility, but obviously I'm never going to have that data to look at. But I just the concept of that really intrigues me of people being driven to the art to the game to support uh, the artist that they follow somewhere else, right?
I really think that's like probably their best bet, in my opinion. To special feature an artist. Like you're saying, have a set of, hey, this Todd McFarlane's 5 variants are available this month only. Get them while they're hot. They're never coming back. And
Yeah,
those things would go. Those would sell like hotcakes.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Well, let's turn to exactly kind of what you're talking about as far as variant acquisition, right? I've shared some thoughts in the past, and my thoughts have probably have evolved over time on what I'd like to see as far as variant acquisition, maybe changes or new features there, more ways to get variants. But I'd love to hear some of your initial thoughts, feelings about current acquisition of variants and what you'd like to see in the future.
Yeah, definitely they need to be cheaper. That's number one. Because right now they're basically, if you old cost into dollars for a variant. Now they are very giving with the gold in the game. I think, in my opinion, again, they give you a lot of gold even as a free to play player. I was watching my buddy Ocean Mud play, and he's been playing, I think, since we off, and he's over like 7,000 gold. So he could get like 10 variants. That's if you translate that in, that's basically like they've given him $100 since he's been playing.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
want to look at it that way, which I think is great. Uh, but the variants do need to be cheaper because, like you said, they're going to keep adding. Like, there's no ceiling for these variants. So the prices, I think, need to come down, and that will entice even more people to buy. And then they keep adding them, keep adding them, keep adding them, and then the money just keeps flowing.
yeah. I'd love to just get your guess here. Obviously, we're not part of the game design team. We don't know. But do you think they'll go the route of like lowering the permanent price if they see enough feedback, or would you see them keeping the current price in gold and simply either having gold on sale and or having variants on sale? Right? They potentially could be like this week variants instead of being 750 are 300 or something, right?
That would be dope. I would love that. I think that's an amazing idea. Obviously, as an optimist and a hopeful person, I would love them. I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that yes, they drop the prices. But being a realistic type of person, I highly doubt it. They're getting enough people. They've already said in the Discord that the variants are doing well, and they're looking at ways to keep expanding that. I think the biggest issue with the variants, as far as like not price wise, is the fact that you have no control over which variants pop in your shop, and it
Exactly.
doesn't seem like it's targeted towards what you use. I think if they had at least like one slot for the variants that was only cards that you've used in the past like 10 days, and it rotated, each day, like a different card that like your most played cards, and just gives you a variant of one of your top 10 played cards every day, that's going to entice so many more people to want to scoop it rather than just a random smattering of variants. And it's like, meh. And you just scroll past it to get your free creds and then get back to gaming. Like
Yeah.
you open that page and you see your favorite cards variant there, and you're like, oh. And then you open it again the next day and you see your other favorite cards variant. You're just like, oh God, they're killing me. I got to get one.
Yes, 100%. I mean, one of the worst feelings for me right now, obviously loving the art, is like I open, it's 9 p.m., at least my time. I open it up and I'm like, okay, let's see what new variants I can get today, right? Or what are my options? And then it'll be like 2 or 3 I've already had that week that I didn't buy, right? And I'm like, I don't want to see this one again, right? I'm not going to buy it today. And then 3 will be cards I don't play a ton, right? Yeah, so 100% agree. And this is a huge, this is a piece of feedback I've seen several people give in the official Discord and on Twitter. And obviously, makes sense. They're not going to commit to anything until it's a done deal. But they have said they are exploring, kind of different targeting options for things like this. Yeah. It could be most played card you have a ton of credits for, etc. Right? There's a lot they could look at here in the background of like how to populate what cards are available. And it sounds like they are looking at that. And again, I think it's a win-win. I think it's a win for users because then you get the variants more frequently that you want, but also it's a win for them because I agree with you. I think this will increase the purchase rate of variants, right?
Yeah. And if they drop that price down, then we're in the perfect world,
Yeah. Oh man, let's shoot for the stars. Let's hope. I agree with
can't
you.
give them credit. I think their battle pass is perfectly priced. Just enough rewards. Doesn't give you too much. Doesn't give you too little. I think it's right in the sweet spot. $10 a month, I think, is a fair trade. And then all the stuff that you gain from playing, you should be able to spend on your variants. But right now, them being $750 for just one, it's too much because there's just so many sweet variants. That's the thing.
Yeah,
like I could understand if there was only like variants or something like that, but you see a new variant. Like I said, the first 2 months I was playing, I saw a new variant, and I was just like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, and I think like everybody's getting some free gold, right? And like, oh, cool. Like if you start like buying variants, eventually you're going to run out of that gold, right? You're going to spend it faster on variants if you're buying variants actively than you are going to earn it, right? Which obviously the hope with like a free to play model and like making money is that, okay, once your resources are depleted, you're going to spend real money. But I guess I just question if like people who are playing mostly free to play are going to like all of a sudden fork over money. Like I buy the season pass, but I have yet to like put in other money into the game personally. And so like I just don't know if I see myself, okay, like if I spend all my gold on 750 cost variants, then like you say, like if I run out of that and there's one I really want, am I gonna just like whip out the debit card, credit card and spend $10? I don't know if I am, right? Now that being said,
sure.
knowing myself, okay, if it was like $3 to get a variant, all of a sudden I'm like, well, yeah, I'm probably going to do it, right? Or I'm a lot more likely to do it, I guess. Now,
and then you'll have leftover gold as well for whatever you're going to be bringing in to replace the old Nexus events.
Exactly. So who knows? Who knows what will happen? But would love to see just some tweaks there with the variant acquisition and with the pricing model. Let's turn to our last thought here. This, again, something that's not unique to us sharing, but I think we both agree that this is important. And they have said that they're looking at this. But I still feel like it's worth covering. And that's just more card info. like info on the cards that you can either see while you're looking at your collection or while you're in a match. What more additional information would you like to see on cards?
Oh, definitely. Obviously, the artist who the art, but if it's from a cover, what issue, what comic that's from, and then maybe even like some of the more obscure characters like Goose. Like, who is Goose? Where is he from? Give him maybe a little background, and then in like Dream Fantasyland, I've been noticing in a lot of the Marvel shows they've been doing on Disney Plus, they've been hiding QR codes throughout the episodes that if you scan them, you get like a free digital comic of whatever character from that show. They could even pop those onto cards and that info, and then yeah, where's this art from? Oh, it's from this comic. Oh, I can scan this QR code and actually go and read that comic. That would be super dope.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think my plan is to have a full episode and conversation about this because I think it warrants it, but I'll just give a little sneak peek of my thoughts. I think that Marvel Snap, the more they kind of build into the larger Marvel world, the comics, the MCU, the Marvel TV shows, both, animated kid shows, as well as kind of the Disney Plus live action shows, right? I think the more they tie into these things, both from a release standpoint, but also just getting you involved in the greater Marvel universe and Marvel characters, I just think brings so much potential for this to have longevity, right? Marvel has been around for so long at this point. It's a huge company. It has a huge brand equity. And obviously that already helps it today. But I just think the more they lean into integrating with some of these other things in the Marvel world, I think really can just add some really long legs and longevity to this game. So
For sure.
well, awesome. That is about all the time we have for today. I'm very grateful to have this conversation. I've been wanting to have this conversation for months, and I'm sure there will be even more to talk about with art in the game in the future. So, Wes, thank you so much for being willing to join, have this conversation, this important conversation about just this key piece of Marvel Snap.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. Been listening to your podcast since you've been dropping them. The Marvel Snap community is so awesome. There's so much content being put out there, and so many people actually just seeing the potential and taking the initiative to go ahead and put things like this together and just be like, hey, guys, we love it. This is awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. So hopefully the devs and people at Second Dinner and the people in charge see all this initiative that people are taking and are inspired by it and
Yeah.
keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I hope they obviously they're still working through some things, and they've had some lows, highs and lows so far with the game with the community feedback. But I hope they do feel good about the excitement and the content that's being created around the game. And I hope that's a pat on the back for them that, hey, that we could be doing this for the future, right? We can make this game work long term. So 100% agree. What Wes, any shout outs to any of your socials, anything where people can follow you, how they can best support you?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for some entertaining matches, I do each weekday. I'll drop 5 matches. I'll do a different deck each day. It's on my YouTube channel. Just look up WesD4Best, and you'll find me. And hopefully, I'm fairly entertaining. But it's quick. It's quick and dirty. I do it all on my phone because I don't have the editing software on my computer in order to do it all fancy like. But yeah, so I drop 5 matches each weekday morning. It's good Marvel Snap morning, and I like to just have fun and do that. I'm in the Discord. You'll see me as WesD4Best in all the Discords. You can find me on Twitter, WesD4Best. And yeah, I think that's everywhere.
Awesome. Well, everybody make sure to go follow Wes. Make sure to check out his content. And as always, listeners, thank you for being here, and we will catch you in the next episode. Can't Stop Snapping is a podcast written, recorded, produced, and hosted by Michael Thurman. Thanks for listening.